All right, everybody, what is going on? Good afternoon, late afternoon. Hope you guys are doing well. And we are going to be pushing the Andre Fuller tape video a little bit later into the evening, maybe even the night, because something indeed has happened that I think is just a little bit more important and a little bit more interesting to everybody in this fan base. So, after a couple of months of knowing that the Seahawks were for sale, and just waiting to figure out who is going to end up showing interest, we finally have some concrete evidence of initial bidders for the Seattle Seahawks. And as is kind of expected, although this is kind of a weird thing to say, they're not the usual suspects. That's not to say that the usual suspects aren't going to be involved, but it's not exactly surprising that we're getting some names that most people probably didn't even know about and most people weren't even aware of existing before this. This video is powered by Prize Picks, more on them in a little bit, but we've got a couple of different things here, and then we've also got one more thing I want to cover at the end of this video that isn't related to the ownership situation, but I don't want to make a whole separate video for it, so we got this earlier today from Eben Navi Williams of Sportico, and basically he's got a couple of names. So the name to really watch here in this group, because he lists two different names here, and the idea is they would kind of come as a package deal and be a significant portion of the of the investors, but probably not the whole thing. So you have, and I'm probably going to mess this up. By the way, there are some tough names in this one, so this video is going to feature some pretty difficult pronunciations for me. You have Aditya Mittal, I guess, is the first guy here, an Indian steel titan, and a Celtics investor. I believe he was one of the people that was involved in the purchase of the Celtics. I think it was last year the Celtics were sold, and it is believed that he is preparing a bid for the Seattle Seahawks, and he is teamed up with the former Celtics owner, who still is on the chair, still involved in the franchise somehow. Wick Grousbeck, I believe is how you pronounce that one. That guy I actually know about a little bit because I knew he was the owner of the Celtics for an extended period of time. But Mittal and Grousbeck are the first guys to consider here. And this one, I have to admit, I'm not overly enthused about this, but I want to be clear here. I don't want to make any sweeping assumptions based off limited info that we have. So Grousbeck, like I said, former Boston Celtics owner, and yeah, he's still the co-lead owner and CEO of the team, so he's not completely removed from the Celtics. He's 64 years old. According to my searches, his net worth is somewhere around $500 million, so he wouldn't be a big part of the team's ownership, I don't think, but he would be a piece of it, and he would probably have a pretty significant voice despite not necessarily having massive stake in the team. So this one, okay. We know he's into sports because he owned the Celtics for almost 2 decades. Actually, I think it was actually more than 2 decades, excuse me. And he continues to be involved, and he did do good things with that Celtics team for the most part. That Celtics team was mostly good during his tenure. But my question is the East Coast thing going to be an issue? If you like sports, then the best way to make them even better and more exciting is using the PrizePicks app, where it always feels good to be right. PrizePicks makes daily fantasy simple. Just pick more or less on your favorite players and build lineups with a few taps. Whatever sport you're into, and obviously we are now firmly into the NFL offseason, so we're all about baseball. We got some basketball, we got some hockey, whatever it is you like. PrizePicks gives you a fun way to stay locked in while you're watching. Definitely make sure to use the promo code HMA. PrizePicks is hooking up users with $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. If you use that promo code, that is HMA. I've had a great time on PrizePicks so far, so definitely get on over to it, check it out, and make sure to get your lineups. And don't forget about team picks, where you can pick winners, spreads, and totals on any major game. So download the app now, use HMA, and get on over to Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. And remember, always gamble responsibly. So that is kind of the thing that I wonder about here, because Grousbeck, he lives in, I believe, New York. As near as I could tell, he lives in New York, and his former sports association was with the Boston Celtics. So is he an East Coast guy? Now, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm worried he's going to buy the Seahawks and move them. I've been very firm about this in the past, and I'm going to continue to be firm about it until I have reason to believe otherwise. I don't believe the Seahawks are in any danger of being moved to a different city, and that is not really a factor in my thought process here. But I do wonder if somebody who lives on the East Coast, like Grousbeck, would be as involved and as hands-on as we might like. And if that's the case with him, then it goes double for this second guy who is more involved. Mittal here, Adita Mittal, and again, I'm probably getting that wrong. I apologize, but he, as near as I could tell, lives in London right now. So how involved would he be? How interested would he be in actually owning the Seattle Seahawks and being an invested part of what they do? Would he be invested in the community here in Seattle on the West Coast? I don't know. The issue that I have here is that I don't think he's going to move the team, but my fear would just be that he would be a hands-off owner, only in it to count money. Now, this guy has plenty of money. His family, his father is Lakshmi Mittal, has a net worth in excess of $20 billion. So this guy could do a lot of the heavy lifting of owning the team. And there would probably be some other minority owners, but this guy would probably own a majority of the team. So he could take care of that, and he could have no problem signing the checks. He is somebody that could take on the responsibility of owning the team financially, and you wouldn't find yourself in an Al Davis-like situation or Mark Davis where money becomes an issue. Although I will say there are people out there that have significantly more wealth than him, but this would not be bad in that sense. But my concern is he going to move to Seattle? Is he going to actually invest himself into the team mentally and emotionally? Or is this just another thing for him to own that is thousands of miles away that he has no real passion for? So that is the part that is difficult to answer. I know that his family's fortune was made in steel, as this tweet does mention. And I'm not going to pretend like I know a lot about him. Maybe he loves sports. Maybe there's stuff about him that we don't know about. Maybe he has a passion for American football, but currently, as of right now, he doesn't even live in this country. So you don't want it to turn into like a thing where Nintendo owned the Mariners and you kind of got the sense that they didn't really care that much about the team. They just cared about the money that they could make off of them. So I don't really know if I'm feeling this one so much. There is, however, one other person that is supposedly going to be involved in making a bid of his own, and this comes from the same tweeter, Eben Navi Williams. We have Vinod Khosla. Vinod Khosla, the co-founder of Sun Microsystems, founder of Khosla Ventures, and worth in excess of 14 billion. So he could take on a pretty big chunk of the team's worth as well. Remember, the team is expected to go for at most 10 billion right now. So he could absorb a pretty decent chunk of that. So that's encouraging. Now, the other thing with Khosla is that he knows, or excuse me, we know that he on some level cares about football because he's already done some investing into the 49ers. And the other thing about this that is kind of intriguing to me is that he lives in Silicon Valley. He's already a West Coast guy. Now, whether or not you feel comfortable with him being involved, knowing that he has a connection to the 49ers, a division rival, that's a different thing. But at least Khosla lives in America and is a West Coaster. So when I look at this one, I'm a little bit more open to it working on some level, right? That makes a little bit more sense to me. So $14 billion probably can't own the whole thing, but you could own a big chunk of it. get some other minority owners involved. There's something going on here that jumps out to me more than with Mittal. Like Mittal, there's some cool stuff here, but Khosla seems, just based on my cursory look, and I want to be clear here. This is all just like first impression stuff. I mean, the guy went to Stanford, so he's been involved in America for quite some time. This is an American, right? I know he was born in India, but he's been in America for a very long time. So it feels a little bit different to me. Now, the other side of that is that he's older, 71. So is this going to be a circumstance where you find yourself in this same situation in 10 years where you need another owner again? Don't know. But I don't know. This is a little bit healthier. Is it Steve Ballmer? No. Steve Ballmer is the dream because he's actually associated with this area. He already owns the Clippers. He's done well with the Clippers. Overall, I know the Clippers are not some great team, but at least they're competitive. At least they can do some stuff well. And there's definitely a sense that he would really care about the team being great, not just good and profitable, but great. I don't know about that with him, but it plays a little bit more in my mind. And there are a couple other billionaires in the West Coast area that would jump out to me a little bit more, but we're gonna have to give some time for those guys to step forward here. So Khosla, kind of see that one a little bit better. So let me know what you guys think about this crew. I know that most of you guys probably didn't even know these guys existed, except for maybe Grousbeck before today. But that is kind of my cursory evaluation. And I want to be clear here. This is all based off first impression. I don't know. We would definitely need to vet things a little bit more before we make any sweeping and final conclusions. Real quick, though, I do want to wrap up this video with one other thing that's going on here. The Vikings are looking for a new general manager, and the Seahawks actually have a candidate. Nolan Teasley is one of the people the Vikings are requesting to interview here. And you can see they're also looking at one of the assistant general managers. Wow. Assistant general managers on the Rams, John McKay. But, and there are a couple other guys as well, but Nolan Teasley is on the list. And a couple of things here. So Nolan Teasley has been with the Seahawks since 2013. If you go to his bio on the website, in 2013, he was an intern in the scouting department. He spent 3 years as a pro personnel scout from 2014 to 2016. He was the assistant director of pro personnel for 1 year, and then he was the director of pro personnel for 5 years. And then he was an assistant general manager for 2 years. So he has moved up the ranks about as smoothly as you can. Intern 1 year, scout 3 years, assistant director 1 year, director 5 years, assistant general manager 2 years. That is pretty remarkable. So Nolan Teasley, obviously he can't become the GM here in Seattle because Schneider's in front of him. So the only way he can keep on moving up is to go to a different team. And look, it seems like this guy might be pretty darn good at his job. It's hard to know for sure because he was not the guy calling the shots at any point. Seems like he's pretty good. So it wouldn't be fun to lose him if he is good. Remember, the Seahawks had Scott McLaughlin on their scouting team and their personnel crew before before, what was it, 2014, when he went to Washington, and he was considered to be a big part of their success in finding good players in the draft. After he left, the team seemed to really struggle to find good stuff in the draft again. There was an extended period of time where they were probably a bottom 3 team drafting, and it was after McLaughlin left. So Teasley, maybe he ends up having a similar role and we end up really missing him. But the thing is, it is inevitable that you lose guys like this when you're a good team. When your team has success and wins Super Bowls and wins playoff games, you're going to lose some of your assistants in the scouting department. So this stuff cannot be helped. It is the price of being good. So the thing that really stands out to me here is that if Easley becomes another team's GM, like if the Vikings hire him, the Seahawks would get 2 third-round picks out of it. And that would theoretically be on top of the third-round picks that they get if Aiden Dirty becomes a GM or a head coach next year. Gotta admit, that's pretty appealing. If we can get an extra third-round pick and an extra third-round pick on top of that extra third-round pick in the third round next year in what is considered to be one of the best drafts in a long time as of right now, that's remarkable. And it's not like we lose Mike McDonald and John Schneider, the guys who are among the best in the world at what they do right now. We're losing assistants to those guys. And I'm not saying those guys are useless, but I am saying at a certain point, you have to be willing to let them go. That is just the way this league works. And if we get bonus draft picks out of it like this, that would be 2 top 100 picks per coach, per person, rather. Yeah, I'm going to be excited about that. And whatever we lose, we lose. It is what it is. But let's play this comp game, man. So that would be pretty sweet. And at the very least, that would give us something to, make it not hurt so much. All right, so that's all I wanted to talk about in this video. This video ended up being kind of long, but important stuff going on here, and I wanted to try to pull it apart as much as I could. And the Nolan Teasley thing's interesting, so we'll see if he ends up getting the job or not. But yeah, see you guys later. Go Hawks. Let me know what you think down below.